So hello people, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're just going to wait and see so that we're going live on Instagram. There we go. We're live, we're live, we're live. Hello ladies. Hello.
Hello.
I feel as if we've not been on for ages, but I think that's because we didn't do a live last week. We didn't come on last week, but
It
it
does
feels
feel a
like it's been
while.
longer. Yes, yes. So Rochelle was away in Malta. Did you have fun?
Oh, it was so good. So I was on a retreat, but I wasn't there for the retreat. I was there to speak about property, which was exciting. I was invited over there, so I got like my hotel paid for and my flights and everything. So nothing like I've never done anything like that before. So that was brilliant. But I also got to take part in the retreat, so it was nice to hear the other speakers. The network of people that were there were amazing. And I also got some time to sunbathe on lounges and get drinks and food brought to me while I looked out into the sea. So I
Wonderful.
cannot complain. Chris kept saying that looks like a holiday. I'm like, it's not a holiday. I'm working.
It was a holiday, Chris. It really was. It was a holiday. And I just want to welcome our newest member. So we've brought on two incredible humans who can come and add to the panel because, as you can appreciate, we've all got businesses, we've got stuff to do. So we can't all be here at the same time every single week. So I asked the incredible Helen after her wonderful contribution a few weeks ago if she'd want to be part of it, and she said yes. Hello.
Hello, it's wonderful. It's such a privilege to be here. So
Oh,
thank you.
bless you. Thank you. No, thanks for saying yes. Um, I mean, we normally have a lot of guests. Hello, Desireen, how are you? We normally have a lot of guests, speakers come in, and ever so often and stuff. We always think, do you know what? If we get people that we feel are aligned and also have the time as well, it's not a bad idea to ask them to sort of like join the panel. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you on board. Right. So today we are, well, I'm going to let Rochelle sort of like lead us. So what normally happens every week is we think of a topic to talk about. Now in most cases, um people will normally sort of like sit there and debate. We like to just fly by the, what's the word, is it fly
By the
by
seat of our pants, is that the phrase that you
the
say?
seat of our pants? There you go. And Rochelle sent me a post yesterday, and I thought, oh, that's an interesting topic. So over to you, Rochelle. What do you think?
Okay, so I was on Instagram a couple of days ago, I think now, or 4 days ago, and I saw a post by a guy called Brad Fleer, and it's a image of a woman. She's stirring. She looks like she's baking or something. She's got a man leaning over her, kissing her, and he's holding two children. They're in the kitchen. And it says, imagine how much propaganda it took to convince women that this is oppressive. Let me see if I can show you on this. Yeah, I can. There we go. So you can see the image there, and underneath his row, was this the most successful lie ever told? So the first thing, it's quite vague of what he's trying to say, I feel, but my first impression was that he feels, or this post is suggesting, that women should be in the kitchen cooking, looking after the children, and the man should be providing. That's the image I'm getting from this. So I just wrote, you don't think women should have the choice of whether they stay at home or build a career? Question mark. So it was just something I wrote in passing. I didn't think too much into it. I just wrote it, and then it's had 1,591 people like it and 114 people reply with various different things. I received a message from one man that said, let me see what he said. He said the man should be the breadwinner, and that, like, as a businesswoman, that fills me with all sorts of feelings.
All sorts of rage.
Yeah, and there's a lot of comments on there. So you've got a lot of people saying that you can't have both. You can't have both a career and a loving family. Some people seem to think, because I believe that we should have the choice to choose whether we have a career or whether we're a stay-at-home mum, that means that I'm saying that women who have careers shouldn't have children. So there's quite a lot of debate going on there. Some opinions that I feel are ridiculous, and some that I feel like, okay, I can see where you're coming from. Like, we're now in a time where it's very difficult to have a 2-parent family where only one of them works and still have plenty of money coming in. But that doesn't mean that it necessarily has to be the woman that stays at home and the man goes out to work. There's some couples that do it very well where it's the woman bringing in the money and the man's the one that stays at home. So it just opened lots of thoughts in my my mind about how we make those decisions. Obviously, Victoria, you're single without children. I'm in a relationship. I've got 2 children that are 9 and 11. And Helen, I don't know what your situation is. So
I'm in a relationship with an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. I mean, I have a relationship and I have 2 children.
Yeah. So similar to me then, and a business.
And a business.
So Desireen says it's really concerning how many people have a brain but don't use it. She's speaking on Instagram. So I'm gonna put in from a different perspective, and I think it's probably going to shock a lot of people. But here's my thought process, and I'm saying this from a space where so from the age of 6 to 18, I lived in Cameroon, which is in West Africa, and in there, even now, men are seen as the superior sex, which is hilarious because a lot of the men can't afford a pot to piss in, basically, and stuff. But they and women have incredible careers, and they still think that. But that's not the point. I'm 52 now, so imagine all those years ago. My mom was a bank manager. My mom's always been career orientated. My dad was an accountant, and it was very unusual, and I didn't know this until recently. It was very unusual for women to have such jobs. A lot of the women were encouraged to become teachers because it meant that they would almost be surrogate babysitters for other people's children, including theirs, and that they would finish school early or around the same time and go home and be home to make the husband's food and also to be there when he got home from work. So it was quite cunningly devised. So if you looked at it from the outside, you'd never guess that. But apparently that was the whole thing. But here's me. So as a single woman I've had no choice but to work. And I'm very lucky that I'm ambitious and I love working. But there is part of me that goes, flaming neck. If somebody just came to me now and said, darling, it's okay. You just put your feet up. Just put your feet up. Let me sort the bills out. Let me do the running around. Let me take the load off where I didn't have to work, but I could work if I wanted to. I don't know if I'd say no. Does that make sense? Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm exhausted. I'm a walking exhausted person. Now, I love what I do and I love the results that I get with clients and stuff. Like, I wouldn't change it for the world. But I think when I think of the girls who I used to know when I first moved to London, we were all in our early 20s when I moved to London. And what was really clear then when I moved to London was you had all these girls who were project managers and advertising execs, and they had all these great jobs. And then they got married, and then they had children, and then they took time out because they wanted to spend time with the children. It wasn't like, they were forced to do it, but a lot of them just took time out. And then they took time out, and then guess what? 20 years later, I can't believe it, but it is about 20 years later. And now they're going, oh, how do I get my life back? How do I become that person that I used to be? And it's really difficult to jump in there and stuff. So I think sometimes it is the choice. I know my sister, for example, her husband said to her, don't work, stay at home, look after the kids, just do what you need to do. I've got this. And she was like, but I want my own independence. And she kept on working. Then there came a time where she was like, I'd rather look after my kids than somebody else does. and then but she had the luxury of being able to bounce between the two. But for me, I can see how women have been coerced into thinking what's best. But I also see that sometimes I think sometimes getting the balance is really difficult, and I don't think you'll ever get it right. So my mom was really, really ambitious. It just meant that somebody else cooked for us. You know what I mean? Like, and up until today, when I talk about food, I think my mom gets a bit hurt that when I talk about food, I don't remember her cooking. I don't remember her cooking, if that makes sense. I don't remember. I can't think of a meal where I go, oh yeah, that's my mom's, because somebody else used to cook it. My sisters cooked and everything else. But equally, my mom influenced me in other ways. My mom told me not to take rubbish from anybody else. My mom told me how to be a strong woman. My mom taught me that it was okay for a woman to lead a boardroom. So I'm not intimidated by such circumstances.
Yeah.
Helen.
I think it's a really interesting dichotomy, because I think we've been sold the lie that we have to have it all, and we have to do it perfectly, and we have to be perfect in every single way.
Yeah.
But also, I've been in 3 major relationships. My current one is not with the father of my children, and the first 2 didn't necessarily break down because of my income and my work, but I was the breadwinner in both, and I'm the breadwinner still. But it caused tension.
Yeah.
For example, I couldn't take time out because I was the one paying the mortgage, I was the one paying the bills, I'm the one that pays for the childcare, etc., etc. So there were just expectations.
Yeah.
But there is the reality, as you said, that Rochelle, we cannot live on one income families nowadays. I don't know anybody, and that includes people up to earning 6 figures, who are, thriving on one income. So it's a real interesting balance. Like you, Victor, I had a mother who was incredibly successful. She was fast-tracked onto the managerial stream of IBM back in the 70s. And when my father left, she had a 1-month-old and an 18-month-old baby. And she openly says she had a choice. She either went on the dole or got a nanny and carried on working. And she did. I started boarding when I was 4 years old, all of that sort of stuff, because she was determined, okay, I'm going to give them the best life I possibly can. And she worked her socks off. I have no idea to this day whether she can cook or whether it's just a lot of Charlie Binghams. But so it's sort of similar. But I grew up with that sense that that's what a woman does.
Yeah.
They provide. So I was sent the message that my mum's the one that provides. Yeah. So it's also interesting, because then there's a flip side of, well, you're also got to be the mum.
Yeah, that's it. And I think being a mum, from my experience of most of my friends and the people that I'm around, even if you are the main earner, or even if you have equal shares in who does everything, often it's the mum's responsibility to remember that they've got a dentist appointment, that they've got to go to the doctor. It's like last week when I was in Malta, Chris had the children while I was away, and he was doing like all the school runs and all the activities and everything. But I had to go, right, this is what's happening on Monday, and then this is what's happening on Tuesday. So even though I'm not present, I'm still having to organise everything that's happening. There was something that was coming to me before we were speaking, Victoria. It was that I had when I had my children. So similar to you, Helen, Chris is not the biological father of my children, because my husband passed away in 2018. So he's taken on that role as their dad. But my husband did give me that option to stay at home and look after the children, and I was like, I can't imagine anything worse. I love my children dearly, but I can remember when they were little, like being really looking forward to a Monday morning, sending them off to nursery, and going, now I can be me. And who I am away from like being a mum. Like, I love being a mum. I love providing for them. I love taking them on holiday and hearing about the school day, but I don't think me as a person could homeschool the children. I don't think I could have stayed at home with them, because it's not who I am. And I really respect people who choose to do that, and who can, even people who are teachers who spend all day with kids and then come home and look after their own kids. I'm like, I feel like,
I think all nursery workers should be sainted. I mean,
exactly. You have to be a certain type of person, and I think that's what it's recognizing, that it is, if you've got the option to stay at home with your children and you choose to do that, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think that's brilliant. Go for it. But also equally, if you go, I could do that if I want to, but actually that's not for me. I need to be using my brain outside. Like, lockdown was a very difficult time for me, trying to homeschool the children, and the first 2 days were brilliant, but then after that I was like, yeah, I don't like this.
It was interesting though, because during lockdown, a lot of parents were complaining that the teachers should still be teaching, and a lot of the teachers are like, now you see what we have to get up to, because now you get to spend more time with your children. You actually get to know who they really are and how difficult it is to teach them. I think it boils down to, I don't think it's that a woman's place is in the home. I think we're naturally, in most cases, we're naturally nurturers. And I think that's proven by, it doesn't matter how successful you are, as Rochelle says, you still have to be responsible for certain things because you just know how it works, etc., etc. And that's not giving dads, that's not taking anything away from really good dads as well, who are really heavily involved. But I think it boils down to preference. Whilst I wouldn't want to stay at home with my children, I'd also want the opportunity to change my mind at a later date, and go, yeah, I do want to come and stay at home with my children. And equally, I think men who say what that guy said to you, which is, oh, the man should be the provider. Either he is in a position where he can provide, but the truth of the matter is, there's a lot of men who aren't providers. A lot of men who, I don't know why, just are not providers. They've not been brought up to feel as if that's necessary, or they just haven't made it in life where they can be the providers. And so, or maybe what they're providing, the woman's like, we need more, so I'm going to go out and earn more, so that the provision is more for both of us, so to speak.
Yeah. And what's interesting is, when I'm thinking about my family and my background, so my mum's always worked, but she was a single parent from me being about 8. But both my grandparents, my grandmas, both worked on both sides. They were both in like nursing and caring. So I've always known women to be actively working, and I'm guessing that probably came from having to rather than wanting to, and that is a shame that we now feel like we've got to work, and we've got no choice but to bring in money from both sides. So in that respect, I can understand why some people are going like angry at this scenario, that it's become that there's no one there to there's no choice but to go out to work these jobs, and to have somebody else bring up their children. Like, one of the reasons I started a business rather than going out to work was because when I was looking for a job change, I was working part-time after going back after maternity leave, and I was looking for something else part-time, but the only part-time jobs were a step backwards, and there were very few of them. So I was then looking at full-time jobs, and the full-time jobs, I couldn't physically drop the kids off by this point they were at nursery and school, and I was a single parent. I couldn't physically get them to the 2 places in the morning, even with the breakfast club and everything else that they did, and then I couldn't pick them up in time in the evening either. So I was like, what else am I going to do? It's not physically possible. And also, I wouldn't want them to be in childcare from 7:30 in the morning until 6:30 at night, because I do want to see them, and we should have that option to be able to go. We can provide for them, but we also get to spend the time with them that they require to become good humans.
Helen, what do you think?
Well, because I was just building on your thought, Rochelle. There's not the flexibility. So I have held very senior level, so general manager, SVP levels in large corporates. multi-billion-pound companies. And I left when it became very clear that AI was not going anywhere up, and B, I couldn't manage 2 children as a single mum and that job. And then when I started looking for other roles in organization, I mean, slightly to the side, it was very, very male dominated senior leadership team. When I started looking, I was fundamentally told by 3 recruiter or headhunters that I'd worked with before and knew the caliber of what I did, that because I had young children, I was never going to get a job at the senior level that I was going to anyway. And now my kids are slightly older. I went back and started having a quick dig around about 12 months ago and got the same message. Oh, you've been out too long with your kids. You know, it will be a major step backwards. And you're like, hang on, I've been running a business.
It's funny, isn't it? It's almost like you're getting punished
for being female and having kids.
For being female
and
having
wanting to have it all.
But can I just say this as well? And again, probably won't make me popular, but I remember when I was in corporate and, you know, again, you know, I was head of and director of and stuff, and it was my responsibility to hire people. And I'll be really, really honest and stuff. It's like I didn't discriminate when hiring people. But if a woman came to me of a certain age, I would be thinking, "Oh my God, they're going to get pregnant," and like I would think that. I'd be thinking.
I think that's quite like a natural thought. Like my VA is just being off on holiday for 3 weeks because it was I think it was a 30th or 20th wedding anniversary. So it's not something she normally does, go off for 3 weeks. But I really struggled, and the thought of having to replace her fills me with dread. She's a really good worker. So you can understand why people would go, hold on a minute, this person is likely, there's a high possibility that at some point, like they might, often people will go for a job when they're already pregnant, knowing that they're already pregnant and get a job. And that's probably set off some bad experience in people's minds. We, at my old job, we had one girl went on maternity leave. We replaced her temporarily for the maternity cover. And then the girl who was on maternity cover also was pregnant. So it can cause like lots of
but it's also been hampered by UK employment law. So I think if you were able legally to have a conversation with someone that goes, right, what are your plans? We're not going to necessarily discriminate, but I need to think about how I manage my team. If you've got the skill set and you're a really good fit, welcome on board, but let's think this through really tactically, because what's the 3-year plan here?
That's it. And then you're able to think longer term in your business, and they're also able to take a job knowing that, okay, I want to have a baby in a year or so. I don't want anyone to be annoyed at me. I want them to know that I possibly want to have a year off and then I want to go part-time. So let's put that in place so that we can.
But we can't have those conversations.
Or is it that because again, when I was thinking that way, I was thinking that way as a manager or as a head of, as opposed to in my own business. I think I'll take it even more personally in my own business. And I know that the people who are saying, oh, you know, it's a bit of a there's a bit of a gap. It's not their business. They're acting as part of management. But how about if we as companies could provide reassurance to people and say, hey, whether you're in your baby making phase and stuff, we actually create opportunities for that, so people can be really, really open and to be able to say, do you know what, we have been trying, we've not succeeded yet, but that's something that's going to be in the way, which we can say, no problem, we'll share with you, because I feel like at the moment women go to work almost in secret when they're pregnant and stuff, because they don't want to be discriminated, because they won't tell you that they're pregnant at an interview. They won't tell you if they're planning any more children. They'll wait until they go through their probation before announcing that they're pregnant. So by law, you can't do anything to them or say anything to them. It's everything's like cloak and dagger.
And it's so fear-based, and I think we shifted to trust-based and have these open conversations, because like you, Rochelle, I love my kids at the age they are now, and fundamentally ever since the youngest was about 4, they have been epic human beings, and I have loved being a mum. But that whole nappy baby stage, I mean, I just found it the world's most exhausting and soul destroying thing.
And not enough women talk about that. Everyone's like, oh, we should be like so happy to have these beautiful babies. And I'm like, we are, but they're really hard work.
Yeah, really hard work. And but again, you felt guilty about going through this. You couldn't do this. So actually, even on maternity leave, I was desperately trying to sort of figure out how I could just get an hour talking to my colleagues, and things like that. Just talking to another adult was amazing. So again, if we could shift sort of the legality and have a real openness about it.
Yeah.
A woman on maternity leave has not completely disappeared from the world. They've just got slightly different priorities for the next 6 or 12 months. And actually, there would be a wonderful, I think, benefit of actually being able to drop back in again and out and be used for certain projects and have so you wouldn't necessarily lose the continuity, and you would give women who wanted it a little bit of sanity.
Yeah, what happened when I went back after maternity leave was that even though I was working a lot less hours, I was still doing the same amount of work. I was just much more efficient with my time at getting it done. And I think if employers can create more part-time jobs where you just job sharing, and you might do like 2.5 days or 3 days overlapping with someone, so you can hand things over and you've got 2 people doing that same job, or just if they could just create more like mini jobs within their company, that mums who want to have that balance between being at home and doing the school run, but also like continuing the career and growing as a human being. Like I loved school and learning, and I still love it now, which is why I spend a fortune on like all my mentoring and education and stuff. And I just can't imagine being somebody that didn't. Like,
I think what the in general the world is really underestimating is the power of having women in their organizations. Our level of intuitiveness, our level of being able to multitask, our creativity is second to none. And what seems to have happened is they've dulled that not race, but they've dulled that sex or that gender. They've dulled them to the point where they either have to manipulate their way to survive or to make it in the world, or they live a very cloak and dagger life. You guys are talking about motherhood and everything else. I've seen online how other women have made other women feel if they're not full-time moms, why you're not spending time with your children and everything else. Again, I saw that from my mom's perspective, because my mom was never, ever, ever gonna sacrifice her career for her children. And I'll tell you what, we have an incredible relationship with my mom now, because she didn't feel as if we stole her future from her. Like, she went away and she worked. My dad was always supportive. As a result, our relationship with our mom, like my mom's very much my friend. I've spoken to her 3 times this morning already about different things, getting stuff done and everything else. And I'll speak to her tonight. My point is, I know not everybody has that sort of relationship with their parents. Do you know what I mean?
She didn't lose herself. Because I work with my mum, and the only reason I haven't spoken to her 3 times today is because she's in Australia. So God knows what time of night, But she never lost who she was.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, right. And I think that's really important, because it's so easy to resent your life, because all of a sudden 20 years flies by and your children are grown, and what have you got? And I know that sounds really harsh, and sounds as though I'm slightly diminishing the role of being a mother and a home owner, but it's not. But it's so easy to lose yourself.
I see a lot of mums I know a lot of mums who have given everything to their children, and you don't get thanked for it in most cases, because kids just take it as, well, you're there, so you're going to do stuff for them. And as soon as the kids leave, the kids don't think to themselves, oh, my mom's looked after me all this time and stuff, and neither should they, but they don't think to themselves, oh, I better to like create space for my mom to do her thing. So when they leave, the mom's like, what do I do? And then they go and take either receptionist jobs, like stopgap jobs that will just make do, because again, they've been back to the corporate and they've been told, no, you've taken too long of a time out. And especially now when computers and technology are just running rife, like every day there's an update on something. It's like most people, when they take 20 years out of the corporate space, it's almost alien to what they come back to.
But to your point about we need more women in business, if corporates took the risk, I mean, I think there was a statistic, I think it was about 15 years ago, that there were more CEOs called John in the FTSE 500 than there are women at CEOs in the FTSE 500. But sort of if corporates took the risk on women who have juggled such complexity, and such management and leadership skills, we can learn the technology. None of us were good on Facebook when it came out in 2005, 6, and all of a sudden now we're doing it. None of us, so we can learn it. But if people took a chance on those coming back who have learned so much through parenting. I was giggling on the podcast that I recorded yesterday with one, I guess, one of the hardest, we were talking about sales and how to become a great salesperson. I was like, the hardest negotiation you will ever do, and Rochelle, you most probably agree with this, is trying to get an 8-year-old to tidy their bedroom. I could negotiate the pants off Apple now because actually they're easy and a doddle compared with an 8-year-old, so it's like, these skills that parents have and develop, if businesses would take the opportunity to take a chance, I think that's when we'd also see women rise up to the ranks and actually deliver the value they really can to businesses globally.
100%. Right. So, Rochelle, final words.
So I think, like, going back to the image, I do see in the world lots of things go full circle. So at the moment, like 10, 20 years ago, nobody was getting married. Now it's really fashionable again to get married. Like people who previously would have been like, absolutely no, I'm not getting married, are now getting married again. And I think we're seeing a lot more women who are saying, actually, I just want to stay at home, like, and be with my children. But the key is having that option. Like, it's brilliant if you can do it. But we should all have that option to go, right, we're going to bring up our children and be the primary caregiver without the extra pressure and stress of having to bring in the money as well. But also there's lots of people who genuinely do want to have a career, and we can have it both. And I think, like me and Helen, we're demonstrating that it is possible. We might be going slightly senile but our children are also seeing us grow up as like strong business women, having it together, and they're being inspired by that to go on and do it themselves. So as long as that option is not taken away from us to do both, then I don't see what the problem is.
Helen?
I think my final words is just know who you are. Know what brings you joy, knows what lights you up, and follow that. Because I think if we then start to try and meet the expectations that are put upon us by others, we're just going to end up running around like headless chickens, and that burnout and that exhaustion that comes. But if we're doing what we really love doing, and that can be playing Pokemon at 9 o'clock in the morning and then doing a conference call at 10, it's sort of, as long as we know what we really want to be doing, then actually those choices become easy. And also know it's okay to change your mind.
And you can never please all of the people all of the time, can you? So as long as you
don't bother doing it at all.
Don't try. Just do what's best for you and your family, and not what other people think.
Well, there you go. What the ladies said, basically. It's an interesting topic. Let us know what you think. We always welcome your contributions. And, if you'd like to be a guest on here one day, let us know. We're always looking for people. I'll speak to you soon. Have a good one. See you next week. Take care. Bye.